All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are breaking down one of the most important environmental regulations in shipping, the Ballast Water Management Convention. If you're a professional in this industry, whether you're studying for your ticket or you're the one responsible for compliance on deck, this is exactly what you need to know.
So here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the why, the whole problem that kicked this thing off. Then we'll get into the real nitty-gritty, the difference between D1 and D2 standards. After that, we'll look at the practical side, the actual methods for exchange, the very real dangers involved, and finally, how you prove you're doing it all by the book with surveys and certificates.
Okay, first things first, let's build the foundation. Why was this convention even created? I mean, it's a huge deal. Adopted by the IMO, came into force in 2017. The whole reason is because of what's hiding, totally unseen, inside a ship's ballast tanks.
At its heart, ballast water management is really all about control. It's a set of global rules from the International Maritime Organization with one single massive goal: to stop ships from acting like unintentional taxis for all sorts of tiny aquatic organisms and germs, and to stop them from invading and totally wrecking new ecosystems.
And that leads us to the convention's three main goals. Number one, stop invasive species from finding a new home where they don't belong. Number two, protect the incredibly delicate balance of the marine ecosystems we already have. And number three, head off the huge ecological and, let's be honest, economic damage that happens when these invasions hit fisheries and even local communities.
So how does the convention actually make this happen? Well, the whole thing is built on two key standards for compliance: D1 and D2. And trust me, understanding the difference between these two is absolutely essential for anyone working at sea today.
The difference is pretty simple, but it's so important. Think of it like this. D1 is all about the process. It tells you what to do, and what you have to do is exchange your ballast water. D2, on the other hand, is all about performance. It doesn't care so much about how you do it, just that you get the right result. The water you pump out has to meet a super strict, measurable standard for how many living things are in it.
So let's dig into the D1 standard. The idea here is pretty straightforward. You swap the coastal water in your tanks, which is full of life, for deep, open ocean water where those little coastal critters just can't survive. The rules for this are very specific. You have to be at least 200 nautical miles from land and in water that's at least 200 meters deep. It's the 200/200 rule. And here is the magic number you have to hit. To meet that D1 standard, you have to prove that you've exchanged at least 95% of the water by volume. And this isn't some guideline. It is a hard requirement that surveyors and port state control are going to check in your ballast record book.
Now for the D2 standard, which is really where the entire industry is headed. This one isn't about a procedure. It's all about technology. To comply, your ship has to have an approved ballast water management system, a BWMS. These things usually work in two stages. First, they filter out the bigger organisms, and then they zap whatever's left with something like high-intensity UV radiation or a dose of chemicals to neutralize it.
Now, this slide shows you the exact testable limits that your system has to meet for D2. For the bigger organisms, we're talking 50 micrometers or more, you can have less than 10 of them per cubic meter. For the smaller ones, between 10 and 50 micrometers, the limit is less than 10 per milliliter. These are the hard targets your BWMS is going to be tested against.
So, for all the ships out there still using the D1 standard, how do you actually achieve that 95% exchange? Let's get practical. There are three approved ways to do it, and the method you choose has huge implications for the ship's safety and how efficiently you operate.
This table really lays it all out. You've got three main options, each with serious pros and cons. The sequential method is the most effective. You get almost a perfect exchange. But the downside is massive risk. Emptying a tank can create huge stability and stress problems for the ship. Then there's the flow-through method. This one keeps you stable because you're just overflowing the tank, but it's super inefficient. You have to pump 3 times the tank's volume. That means more time, more fuel. And finally, you have the dilution method, which is a decent compromise for stability, but it's not available for every ship. It needs a special tank and piping design right from the get-go.
And all of this leads us to what is maybe the most important topic for anyone working on deck: safety. A ballast water exchange is not just another pumping job. It's a major operation, and if you get it wrong, you put the vessel and everyone on it in danger.
So let's just ask it directly. What are the biggest risks you are facing when you're out there in the middle of the ocean doing a ballast water exchange?
The dangers are very real. First, stability. Emptying tanks lowers your metal-centric height, your GM, and creates a huge free surface effect, where water sloshing around in a half-empty tank can just kill your stability. Second, you're putting incredible stress on the ship's structure, which can cause the hull to bend up in the middle, that's hogging, or bend down, which is sagging. Now, try doing that in heavy weather, and the risk just goes through the roof. You also have the sloshing effect, where water violently crashes around inside the tank, which can damage the tank itself. And all of this assumes your pumps and your systems don't decide to fail right in the middle of the whole thing.
So how do you manage all these risks? Well, the safety protocol is non-negotiable. It all begins with your ship's approved Ballast Water Management Plan. You follow that thing to the letter. You never, ever try an exchange in bad weather. You are constantly monitoring your stability calculations, your trim, your hull stresses. Before you even think about starting, you make sure your equipment is in good shape. You have to keep constant, clear communication going between the bridge, the deck, and the engine room. And of course, the golden rule of the sea. If it wasn't written down in the ballast record book, it never happened. Okay, last section. How do you officially prove that you're following all these rules? It's not enough to just do the job. You have to have the paper trail to back it up, and that's where the whole system of surveys and certification comes into play. A ship's compliance isn't a one-and-done thing. It's checked constantly through a whole cycle of surveys. It starts with an initial survey before the ship is even put into service. After that, you've got annual surveys to make sure the equipment is still working right. Then there's a deeper, intermediate survey between the second and third year, and a full-blown renewal survey every 5 years. And on top of all that, if you do any major repairs or change the system, you're going to need an additional survey.
And this right here, this is the whole point of all that effort. After you pass your survey, the ship gets an International Ballast Water Management Certificate. This document is your official passport, recognized all over the world, that says you're compliant. It's good for 5 years, but only if you keep passing those annual and intermediate checkups along the way.
So that brings us to a final question, something to think about for the future. As more and more of the world's fleet gets fitted with these high-tech D2 treatment systems, you have to wonder, is the old D1 exchange standard living on borrowed time? Is technology eventually going to make that whole procedure a thing of the past? It's a really interesting question, and the answer is going to shape the future of maritime rules. Thanks for joining us.
Can I be your superhero? Superhero. You take the light with you and you go. You're not coming knocking.